Hey cuties, I'm Miles Sexton, a content creator, activist, and loud and proud disruptor of the norm. On Our Private Bits, we talk about the things and people that don't get talked about enough, or at all. Trust me, as a sober, HIV-positive, non-binary person, I would know. Join me as I chat with people in my life and from around the world whose stories deserve to be heard. Maybe you'll learn something new, and you will definitely LOL. Our Private Bits is also part of the Acast Creator Network. All right, cuties. Today on Our Private Bits, we have Sasha Exeter joining. She is a mother, a content creator, and probably one of the most fabulous people that I know. Want to say hi, babe?
Hi, Miles. I'm so excited that we're doing this today.
Oh my gosh. We literally haven't sat down and done something like this in forever, or just being creative in any way. It's been a while.
I feel like more than a while. I feel like we were different people back then.
It's so true.
I would say this was like 2014.
Yes. Yeah.
Yet
definitely.
we haven't aged a day, darling.
Hey. I mean, I have a beard now, but you look exactly the same. Your hair's a bit longer.
Than it was yesterday.
Yeah. But it's so true. I feel like it's interesting because I think you were one of the first people that I got to meet that I really looked up to when I was so young when I moved to the Toronto. I moved here when I was 19 years old, so I think when we met I was probably 22 maybe, total baby. And I just finally remember us getting to do this shoot together. Pretext, I used to have a fashion magazine called Nord magazine. Sasha came in one day and modeled for one of the images that we were doing for Doc Martens, and it was such a fun shoot. And I just remember being in awe of your presence and
really?
how I don't know, you're just one of these people that I feel are so larger than life on Instagram, but then you meet you in person, you're
okay,
just
but
the
does it
sweetest.
match? Because that is my pet peeve when I see people with these immensely strong personalities online, and then you meet them and they're just not giving the same energy. I find that so odd.
But I wouldn't say that you don't give the same energy. I think there's just this beautiful humanness to you. I think when you idolize someone and then you meet them in person and they're also just genuinely beautiful people, a beautiful person,
oh wow,
that is I think such a special thing. And I just remember in meeting you at that shoot, and you gave me advice in that moment, and I never forgot it.
Okay, please remind me.
No, that's okay.
I hope it was sage advice.
No, it really was, because we were chatting and you were saying we were talking about being, as your career and working as a blogger, at the time, which is
wild.
Who writes blogs anymore, but miss them. And and you said there isn't a lot of money in fashion. Everyone wants to give you stuff for free, but you're not going to make money working in fashion. And I don't know, at that young age, that's always stuck in the back of my head.
Sadly,
yes,
it still rings true.
It's still true. 100%. It's so true. So I don't know. I thank you for that advice, because I feel I have you to thank for the dollars that I'm making now.
Because you're doing lifestyle stuff,
totally.
and beauty and hair and all the other things that actually have budget.
Yes,
fashion is all about optics.
Yes, it totally is.
So
it is. Do you what was your take on that, on our shoot that we did that day together?
Okay,
do you remember it? It was so long ago.
It was so long ago. But fun fact, I have severe stage fright.
Okay, interesting. Really?
Anytime a camera is pointed at me or a microphone, I will be nervous about it for days ahead of time. I'll be sweating on set.
Interesting.
But the one thing that I remember from that day, I felt totally comfortable, and I felt like I was with family, and we just had a connection, which I felt like it read in the photos.
Yes. Absolutely.
So when you're feeling good and feeling confident and feeling relaxed, it really shows in the output.
Yeah, 100%.
And I felt really good, and I
felt
like we bonded.
You were jumping around.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
yes.
I think you had this in-air shot.
Yes, that was the shot.
Yeah, and I just remember how amazing it was. So good. It was
a good day.
I should have brought the magazine so we could have looked at it. I'm it's been so long since I've opened those up again. So I mean, you've had like an incredible career, and obviously it's still
I know that
going.
sounded like it was like
Yeah, coming to an end.
coming
But
to
like,
an
I mean,
end.
like, it's just like, you've been in the business, I think, for a while now. And I think you were really like you've been a trailblazer, I think, for so many people. But like why, I guess, like has fashion always still been something as a way that you use to express yourself? Like where did that like start? Why is it something that's continued over the years, even though we don't make any money off
Still
it?
doing it, still slaving away
Yes.
for clothes. Um, I the passion for clothes and fashion and accessories comes from my
Oh,
mom.
interesting.
My mom, I mean, she is the most fashionable woman I
Uh,
know. Like, most of my early childhood
yeah.
memories are of watching her get ready for work.
Oh my God, I love it.
And in the '80s, like,
Ugh.
style was just like I'm so angry she, like, donated so many
No.
clothes, like, and bags and shoes, but, it started there, but I as cliche as it sounds, it is the best and easiest way to express yourself
Mhm.
without having to say a word.
Totally.
And, um, I often struggle when people ask me about, like, to describe my sense of style
Yes,
because it changes every day, and that's one of
exactly.
the things I love so much about fashion is that, like, you can tell a different story every single day based on your mood or
Yes.
where you are. It's, like, kind of like playing dress up, although I still feel like the things that I wear the clothes aren't wearing me.
Totally,
That makes sense.
100%.
Like, I'm not actually playing dress up where it doesn't
Mhm.
make sense,
Yeah,
but I can kind of, like, reinvent myself every day and just kind of have fun.
exactly. It really, I think for you, it is this very much an extension of who you are, right?
Yeah.
100%. What would your mom wear? Like, what were some
Back
of yeah,
then,
like, what was, like, some of do you remember? Is there, like, an iconic outfit that you, like, can
I
imagine her in?
well, it was all ironically, I have shoulder pads
Ugh,
today.
love.
But it was all about, like, a big shoulder
Ugh,
moment, and these,
love.
like I remember she took my brother and I to Paris,
Oh, cool.
and I was, like, 9 or 10 years old, and she was, like, wearing, kind of like a Chanel style flat and a huge wide leg trouser style denim
Oh my gosh.
and an
Oh.
oversized blazer with the sleeves rolled up with chunky jewelry, chunky like
Yes.
bangles, and these shoulder pads and this iconic short
Oh
haircut
my god.
and
I
oversized
love.
sunglasses. And it was just
Oh my gosh, sounds
so
amazing.
effortless and
Yeah.
so chic. She was, like, so far ahead of her time. Like, the outfit
Yes.
still, like, hits today, I feel.
Totally. And I think those things, like, stick with us, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
My mom was also, like, she dressed up in her way, but she loved, like, an animal print and, like, it was, like I think about, like, at the time, like, how inspired I was of her of, like, that was your choice in this, like, small little town to
Mm,
wear this, like, very bold
yeah,
print,
and she owned it, I'm
Yeah, she
sure.
did, and she,
Yeah,
like, loved her jewelry. So I see it in my style now, how there's like little pieces that I've taken from her style that I find I still express through my
and made
style
it your
now
own,
too.
right?
Yeah. I
I
think
love
that's it's
that.
like a beautiful thing, I think, with fashion that we
Yeah.
find those little pieces, right? So now I feel like you have been, like I said earlier, I think you've been such a trailblazer. I remember, like coming to Toronto and not seeing any other like women of color that were doing blogging and content creation. Like it was just like I don't know. You were a unicorn, I think, for that time, and I think that's part of the reason I looked up to you so much because it was like I wanted that representation to see it online, right?
Yeah.
So, like, was there a moment, I guess, for you that you were like, I need to like become like I want to put this representation out there, or like what I guess like sparked you to get into this like industry?
My story to getting into this world is so different
Yeah,
from many other
I love.
people. It was by accident.
Okay.
I was on the fast track in the corporate world.
Okay,
I
really?
had no desire to do this.
Huh.
Um, I thought, my goals at the time were to become like vice president of marketing for the company that I worked for.
I love.
And I was very into branding
Yes.
and I got very ill.
Oh.
Um, and what I thought was gonna be a 2-week, um, time off work
Mhm.
ended up being almost 2 years.
Whoa.
So I had a kidney disease, and then was subsequently diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Yes.
And it completely changed my life. Like,
Yeah.
I was a very high functioning person. I went to school in the US on a full tennis scholarship.
Wow.
Highly functioning. I was promoted at my job, at my work every year. So I was
Yes.
on the fast track for success. And I just felt like that just immediately got halted by my
Mhm.
health issues. And once I got out of the hospital and I was in recovery at home, at my parents' house,
Yeah.
which was wild because I was
Yes.
so independent,
And how
and
old would you have been
I
around
was
this time?
29.
Yeah,
I was
holy
engaged, I was
shit.
planning my wedding, I had lived on my own, I'd lived in multiple
Yeah.
different countries already by that time.
Whoa.
So it was a big regression for me, and while I was working on getting healthy again, my cousin was like, "Well, you should start a blog."
Yes.
And I'm like, "Are you can we swear?
Yeah, you
Are
can
you
say everything.
fucking insane?" I'm like, "I have 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Like, I have things to do. I was
Totally.
making great money. Why would I ever wanna do that?" And he's like, "Well, what are you doing now? You're just laying in bed."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're a great writer and you're
Yeah.
a creative person, and when have you ever been able to exercise that creativity in a way that
Totally.
you really want to?" And, coming up with a Caribbean background, being a child of immigrant
Yes.
parents, that sort of creativity was never really
Totally.
fostered, right?
Absolutely.
It was like you go to school, you get your
Mhm.
degree, you go into the corporate world, or you become a lawyer. So from my bed, I started writing and reviewing things.
Yes.
And then as I got healthier, I was
Mhm.
able to do my own shoots and start going to events and
Yeah.
covering those things. And things kind of happened really quickly.
Mhm.
I think for at that time, I think I got my first brand partnership maybe 7 months
Oh,
in,
so
which is, like,
cool.
so weird to talk
Do you
about
remember
now.
what brand it was?
I do,
Yeah.
and it always will have a special place in my it
Okay.
was Ann
Oh,
Taylor.
I
It was Ann Taylor. I'd like to think that
love.
I made Ann Taylor kinda cool
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Come on, affordable
Uh,
fashion.
um, but yeah, I loved it, and I think, what helped for me at that time is that
Yes.
I wasn't doing it originally to monetize it.
Yes, totally.
Never in my wildest dreams would I
Yeah.
think I would still be doing this job today. I thought that this was gonna be a hobby,
Yeah.
and it was going to keep my mind occupied until I returned back to my real life
Mhm.
and real work.
Huh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think in a way that the creativity of, like, getting to kind of put this out there, like, helped you heal?
I think it was very cathartic.
Mhm.
I mean, just basically, it just, like, allowed my mind to not even think about the stresses that I had,
Totally.
and I didn't realize how much I loved creating.
Mhm.
So it was almost like I was getting a bit of, like, an endorphin high
Yeah,
off of it,
absolutely.
and then just having a task to do and complete
Yes.
when I had been, like, literally wasting away in bed on
Yeah.
bed rest for a year and a half, it did a lot for my mental health.
It's so true, and I think that's, like, what a lot of people don't realize is that, like, our mental health, I think, is so directly connected to our physical health,
100%.
and it is. It's like you can either sit on a loop and, like, feed into, the, like, "Why is this happening to me? I hate this situation," the negativity of it all, or, you can take that energy and put it into something
Something
that's,
good.
like, is positive,
Yeah.
and I really do believe that switch of energy can really help you
Yeah, for
heal.
sure.
Yeah. Ah, that's so interesting. So, what do people, like, I guess, not realize about, I guess, like, the impacts of having, like, a rare kidney disease and, like, fibromyalgia? Like, how does that, like, impact your, like, physical health? Yeah.
How much time do we have?
All the time for you.
Um, the fibromyalgia, I think, is actually the more debilitating of
Okay.
the 2 or has been
Yes.
in the last 5 to 7 years. I actually was just in New York for Fashion Week, and I
Mhm.
was speaking to my photographer about this, and I was getting emotional. I was, like, looking at people walking around, and I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like to wake up
Mhm.
and be able to start your day without feeling like you're in immense pain.
Totally.
Like, I wake up most days, I wake up and feel like I've been in a car crash.
Yeah. And people don't realize
they
that.
don't realize it. Fibro is basically termed the invisible disease.
Yes.
And just with pain, people, unless you've experienced pain on that level, that magnitude, it's really hard for anyone to be empathetic or really understand what that's like. I know some people are like, never had a headache. And I'm like, I can't even talk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have no idea. So as you said, the connection with mental health and physical health, like it affects my mental health. For years, it had caused like depression.
Yes.
Before I was diagnosed, it caused anxiety. It caused insomnia.
Yes.
Like sleep disturbances was like major. It affected how I interacted with people socially.
Yes.
Back then, I didn't understand how powerful movement was. And I felt like, well, if I'm in pain, I should be resting. But not moving actually begets more pain.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
That's
So
so
you need
interesting.
to like move your body and create some endorphins. So yeah, that's the main driver or the catalyst behind why I work out the way I do.
You do.
It's not really for a vanity play or to look good in clothes. It's really like a necessity for me to get through my days. Because sometimes there's just so much pain, but I also manage that through a balanced diet and just making sure I'm not eating too many inflammatory foods.
Totally, which there's so many that
so
people have
many.
no idea.
Yeah,
like so many common things we're eating.
Exactly. Silent killers.
Yeah, right? So like before I was having this conversation, I was looking up a bit about it. And like, I feel like everyone's like fibromyalgia is like a bit different, like on where they experience pain. Like some people it's like all over, some people it's certain areas. Like for you, how like where does that pain show up?
My upper back.
Okay.
Some of my joints, but mostly my upper back and my shoulders and my neck. And then that also like creates continuous migraines.
Yeah. Oh.
So
it's so debilitating.
it really is and can be very frustrating.
Yeah. And it's like you said earlier too, like I think it's so hard when you do have something that people can't see, right? And so it becomes this like a invisible illness or disease or whatever, or condition. And so it's so hard to get like empathy or like people like look at you and expect something, and then maybe you're getting a migraine coming on, and you're in immense pain, and like you can't show up in the way that you want them to. And there's like,
especially on set, especially in front of the camera.
Exactly. And you're so public all of the time too. So, and two, like, you have your daughter, and like, how is like, I guess like, how has that impacted, I guess your life of also
She would
having
love
to be
you,
a
by the
number?
way.
Oh yeah, I want to meet her.
No, she would think you're a fairy. Like she would lose her marbles.
I'm obsessed with her every time you post. I'm like, double like 5 times.
So what was the question?
Yeah. Distracted. What is her name again?
Maxwell.
Maxwell.
Yeah.
Gem. Maxwell, I can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, I guess like, cause not only I think are you like, you're running your career, you're also a mother, and then you're dealing with this. So like, how does that like, I guess like also impact you being a mother? Cause I think people don't realize that, right? Like how much that affects it.
I always get emotional when I like talk about this part of my life.
It's okay.
It is the hardest thing. It is so hard. Oftentimes I think about like how different my life would be if I had her dad.
Yeah, totally.
Someone that cares about her just as much as I do, that can like literally knows the routine and can kind of just like take over.
Totally.
It is a struggle. I'm so fortunate and so lucky to have the parents that I have and the family and friends that I have to help me out, else I wouldn't survive. Like I just came off of like a 4-week basic travel.
Yes.
Like work trip, and I was in like 3 different time zones. So being able to show up at work while I'm in a different country or continent and know that my child is okay, is amazing. But there's a lot of work that goes into the logistics and the organization of making sure she has everything she needs before I leave.
Totally.
It's very anxiety inducing. I'll tell you. I never get excited about going away for work because
Mm.
I just know all the things that need to be done ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole extra level of
Yeah,
things,
yeah, I do
right?
my best. Listen, like, I used to put a lot of stress on myself. I
Mhm.
had to be the best at work,
Yes.
and I have to be the best mom, and I have to be the best partner and the best friend, and this whole thing, like, about balance, and
Mhm.
I've given myself a lot of grace over the years.
Yes.
It is not I don't know, it's just not realistic to be all things
No.
all the time.
Agreed.
And, like, some days I'm crushing it at work
Mhm.
and I forgot to send in money for pizza day,
Yes.
or I'm scrambling before leaving the country to get all the Valentine's gifts set
Yes.
up for her classmates.
Totally.
Um, and then other times I'm not really on the ball at work, but
Yeah.
I'm killing it at
Yes.
home.
It's
So
like having 2 full-time jobs, and that's
it
not
literally
including
is.
you having your own life outside
It
of it
literally is.
too.
How are we supposed to do it all?
And that's I think that that's like the bullshit to me is that I feel like there's like this unrealistic expectation of like perfectionism being a woman and a mother. And
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't know. I just like I look at so many mothers that are out there that are just I don't know, like crippling under this like pressure to try to like fit this sort of like societal mold when it's like you are just as human as like anyone else and like you can't give 1,000% of yourself every single time, you
No.
know? And I don't know. I hope that like we're moving into another like a new generation where we're changing a bit of that dialogue and that pressure that I think exists around like
I hope so
yeah,
because we're all struggling. I
totally.
don't know one mom that is not like drowning. And I think it's
Absolutely.
so important online to, I don't really believe in oversharing, but I do believe in being a little bit vulnerable
Yes.
and sharing things like that. It's really important for other women to know that you're not killing it
Yeah.
every single day.
Agreed.
I ordered Uber Eats,
Yes.
3 times in
Yeah.
a week because, like, I couldn't like, I did not have the energy to cook,
Yeah.
or I was working till 10 o'clock.
Totally.
Or that, I have a nanny that helps and that I
Yeah.
have, like, a parent that's able to help out. So that other women don't feel like they're flailing or
Totally.
failing. It's so important.
Do you find that you're sharing more content like that? Like
Oh,
as you come into
my online community knows how many fuck ups I've had.
yeah.
Listen, I had sent Maxwell to a summer camp that
Yeah.
she wasn't even registered for. Like, I'm not
Oh,
joking. I dropped my child to this
no.
gymnastics
Yeah.
camp for 5 days, an entire week.
Yeah.
And they're like, her name's not, I'm like, her name is there. It was the completely wrong camp.
Oh
Yeah.
no. That's hilarious.
Like, shit, ha-
Yeah, it
shit
happens. It
happens.
happens. That's so funny.
Mom of the year.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Now, shifting gears a little bit, how do you feel in terms of like, I guess the industry now, like from when you started to where things are now? Like, are you seeing that the industry is becoming more diverse, or is it just tokenism that's happening? Like, what's your opinions on this?
Are we talking about the industry in general, or are we talking specifically about Canada? Because I think that there's a
We can
difference.
do both. I'm curious to hear your opinions.
Um, this landscape is not designed for people that look like me
Totally.
or even you,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Um, I think we all noticed some differences during the pandemic
Yes.
around the Black Lives Matter
Hmm.
movement, where brands knew that they needed to make a change.
Totally.
But to be completely honest, I never felt confident that those changes were ever gonna really stick.
100%.
So, I think we were I don't wanna use the word excited, but we were all happy to
Hmm.
have a moment of time where we felt we were being heard and we felt we were being seen.
Yeah.
And we're getting opportunities that we probably deserved all along.
Absolutely, you did.
But there was like a clock
Mhm.
running on that.
Yeah.
And we all wondered, like, well, how long will this last? And I think that time ended sometime last year,
Yeah. Agreed.
to be honest. And it's like almost things that have been level setted and recalibrated, and we've basically just gone back to where we were
I know.
before.
Isn't it so disappointing?
It is
Ugh.
so disappointing.
Agreed. Because it was like you said, it was like I felt like everyone, it was like pressure cooker. We're gonna like really focus in on this. And like there was so much like beautiful celebration that I think that happened. And then it's just like now I'm like barely seeing
But
like
you know what? I think part of that was that things happened very quickly
yes.
and the change was very aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, these brands and these companies leaned into it,
Hmm.
maybe a little too hard,
Totally.
but understandably so based on the
Yes.
circumstances. But I don't think it would have ever been realistic to uphold.
Totally.
And I don't think at that time they needed to like completely rechange everything. So if we look at brand campaigns that they had to be all BIPOC,
Yes.
it's just like just give some
Yeah,
space for
exactly.
diversity.
Totally.
But yeah, no, I feel like things are looking very regular degular
And I
around
think
here.
I think a lot of it too, like you were saying, that it was like a reaction to what was happening in the social climate. And like unfortunately, the reaction I think was like, oh, we don't want to like look like we don't support this community. So we're gonna like put this out there. But they're actually not doing the work in order to like restructure their
It's
organizations
all
as a whole.
performative,
Yeah, exactly. And
So
100%. I feel like it was just totally performative allyship,
yeah.
And I
And
don't
I'm
know,
sure
it's so
you've
disappointing.
experienced that too. And it's like, hello, like we are around, we're available to work
Yes,
outside of Pride and
totally. Black
outside
History
of
Month.
Black History Month.
Yeah.
Like, what about all
Ah,
the other months out of the year?
it's so true. And it's like, like even for me last year, like usually June is my busiest month of the entire year.
Of course.
But because of all of the anti-trans like bills that were being
That's
passed and
right.
like happening, I got one job in June. One. And then I saw brands working with non people from our community during Pride Month
To
to
promote?
promote their pride stuff. And it was just like it was so upsetting to me, like being like, have we really gone this far backwards? That we're hiring allies to talk about Pride Month because we don't want to like risk a controversy of like featuring a trans person. And I was like, yeah.
No,
So,
it's terrible.
like I feel you. Like obviously it's not on the same level as someone who is also, yes, I'm queer and white, but like, it's just it's really like frustrating to see, like you said. I feel like it's taking a step back. And I don't know, like I've been trying to challenge brands with like um trying to be like, okay, can I come in and like teach like a diversity and inclusion like
Yeah.
class to your employees, and like trying to like work from like the back end of it. But so many of them are like not even open to like having those conversations, but like want to hire me to post an Instagram reel. So I don't know. I'm sure you must experience like tokenism too sometimes. Have you been in those situations?
I think my situation's a little unique
Yeah.
because I fit in this, like, I am multi niche,
Yes, totally.
right? So I'm I'm a
Mhm.
millennial.
Yeah.
I'm 43,
Millennial
so,
babe.
I'm mature.
Yeah.
So I have that, and then obviously I'm a visible minority as a Black woman and a mother, and I'm one of the very few Black creators that are female that do, like, luxury or
Totally.
premium.
Yes, exactly.
So there it already isn't really much to choose from.
Yes.
So I do feel, if there's opportunities that cross over, and I do wellness.
Yes. That's a huge one.
That's a huge and fitness.
Yeah.
So
There's
and
so much money in that category.
um yeah, but I mean I have been in situations where I've actually turned down opportunities to make way or taken
Yes.
less money to make way for other visible minorities
That's
because I
amazing.
felt that it was so important. that there'd be more inclusivity in a campaign.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really honorable that you do that because the brands don't think about it, you
But
know?
also, selfishly, it's for me too,
Yeah,
because, like, I don't wanna look like the token
totally.
when there's also, like, other viable people that could be a part of this.
Yes.
We don't need 5 blondes.
No, 100%.
We don't.
No. And there's such a spectrum of people, right? That I feel like I don't understand why brands like they're like, okay, we got this, and this, you know? But it's like, no, there's so many other people
So many other.
that we can focus on. You know, like I talk a lot about on City Line with like, why are we not having more models that have like, physical disabilities or like, use
Absolutely.
accessibility devices and stuff like that? Like, why are we not showcasing these people?
'Cause
Like,
it's real life.
yeah, like we see them on the street, but we'd
It's
never see them on TV. Like it's like, I hate it,
Yeah.
So
We've
what
come so far, but we still have so much farther to go,
yes,
you know?
I completely agree. What do you think is like the next like realistic step that we could take to try to like
To change that?
yeah, like
Oh my god, I think about that every day.
same.
Move?
Yeah. I know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I think we I think you're now in a position of power
Yes.
more that I think we might just kind of have to demand it.
Totally. I agree with you.
And at times where it makes sense and we're in a position to take a bit of a cut.
Yes.
And I think it's just like really important to drive home the importance for all parties involved for the
Yes.
diversity. It's not only for the brand and the company, but you also want to be a part of a campaign or an
Yeah.
opportunity that allows diversity and inclusivity. It looks good for your
Yeah,
brand too.
exactly. But isn't it terrifying though? Like, I feel like maybe it's easier for you, but like, I feel like I get so nervous sometimes when I have to put my foot down about things, to
100%.
brands. And I'm like,
I put my foot down all the
yeah,
fucking time,
and like that's
which
an
also,
empowering thing, right?
well, it to some
Yes.
people it reads as difficult.
Yes, totally.
But the older I've gotten, I'm so sure of who I am
Yes.
and what I want and what I want to be involved with and who I want to be surrounded by.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I feel like if I've pushed back, if someone doesn't want to pay my rate or they're not happy with, you know, my creative intentions for a
Hmm.
project, they do actually respect that and end up
Yes,
coming back around eventually.
totally.
They'll know when they're able to they won't come back to you unless they have the money.
Yes.
They won't come back unless all their ducks are in a row, and those are
Yes.
the people that you wanna work with anyways,
Agreed.
not someone that is h vying to get you at a bargain basement deal price.
Literally.
It's like, "This is not Facebook Marketplace,
No,
sis."
it's true. This year especially, like, I think I've turned down almost every job that's come in this year because it's like an eighth of what I would normally charge. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't like allow you to like hire people at that rate.
Well,
Like
then it skews the whole industry, right?
totally. It's so frustrating.
It's yeah, it impacts all of us.
It totally does. And I think like to your point, like I think it's like we have to yeah, I think we have to like empower ourselves in order to put our foot down. And I think in the past I've been so afraid of being difficult, but it's like these are sort of like levels of expectations that I need to have like going forward with working with you. Like I have so
We
many
teach people how
yes.
to treat
Yes,
us.
exactly. That's exactly it. And when we let them all walk all over us, then they're just going to continue to do that and they're
Yeah,
never going to respect our boundaries.
absolutely.
So,
I do feel that, and this has been a conversation for many years since I've
yeah.
been in this business, but like, I wish we had a union.
Yes,
I wish we had
totally.
something like some sort of support
Yes.
where we could like, you know, come together and discuss things like rates and
Yeah.
how to advocate for ourselves in certain situations, how to navigate dealing with things online during certain things happening in the
Yes,
world
totally.
in the social climate. So maybe that's something that we should work on.
Yeah, I mean, it really would it would be nice to have support, because
Yeah.
like I think, our jobs can sometimes feel very isolating. Like, yeah, we have our little teams of people that we work with, but it's
Yeah,
so
you have
hard.
no idea what is going on in anyone
No,
else's world except what they
exactly.
choose to show online, which
100%.
is 1/10 of what's really
Exactly.
happening.
It's so true. So what would you I mean, I didn't give you this question prior, but like what advice, I guess, would you give to people that are trying to get into this industry like now in the
Oh my
landscape that it is?
god.
Because like you've been
Don't do it? No
yeah,
kidding.
I mean, because you've been through so many different moments of social media,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
For someone coming in now that wants to survive
yes.
and wants to have longevity, I mean, this is just so basic, but you have to be real.
Yes. That's it.
There's too many of us online. There's
Yeah.
too much noise, and trying to be somebody you're not is extremely exhausting
Agreed.
and will literally end in burnout. And
Yes.
I feel like we're so used to seeing all these online personalities. People are much smarter and
They
savvy
are.
than they were 10, 15 years ago. People are looking for vulnerability, they're looking
Mhm.
for realness, they're looking to connect.
Yeah, they want community.
They want community. So find a niche and just be real and true to yourself, and the right people will find you
I
and
think that
follow you.
that's very powerful advice. I think in the beginning I obsessed so much about what everyone else was doing
We
that
all
I
did.
that I wasn't investing any time into what I was doing. you know?
We've all been there.
Yeah,
And I feel like it's that sometimes creeps back in
totally. Yeah, exactly. Little
every now
gremlin.
and then.
Yeah,
Yeah. We
agreed.
just have to put it in check.
We do. We do. It's not serving us joy. Well, Sasha, thank you so much for coming on this
I
podcast and
cannot
having this
believe this is
conversation.
done.
I know, flew by. I'm like watching my time in the corner. But where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
I keep it very basic and simple.
Yeah.
Sasha Exeter for all social platforms and sashaexeter.com.
That's the way to do it. Well, I adore you, and I cannot wait to see what else you're going to continue to accomplish. The world is yours. So
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. This has been a
course.
blast.